Hi, my name is Kim O'Hara, and I am from the company A Story Inside. And today I am with three of the most amazing A Story Inside authors. And we're all coming together today to celebrate really the writing of a book, the publishing of a book. All three people on this call today have published or are publishing within the span of this last month. And so we're here to talk about kind of the amazing ride that they've been on and what they've experienced, and to inspire and educate people that might be a little bit scared to go after a dream that seems somewhat impossible, but is absolutely attainable. And hopefully give you a little bit of a push to go in that direction, especially during coronavirus. I mean, we've got some time to get this dream done. And remember, it does take time to write a book. So if you start now, in 8 months, you can be like these three lovely Hollywood squares I have here today and be publishing your book. So we're going to start with Dr. Vick, whose book, Pushing Through.
Dr. Vick.
Can I call you Dr. Can I call you Dr. Vick?
I'm not a doctor.
I thought you were using the title doctor at some point. Are you going for your doctorate at some point?
No.
See, I have so much respect for you. I think you're a doctor. Isn't that amazing?
I'm going to claim it though one day.
I think you're like almost like I assume you have so many degrees. You're a doctor. Okay, her book is like, you read it, you're like, oh my God, it has incredible pedigree. So you wrote this book, and congratulations. And I want to take you back to that moment where you knew the idea of writing was something you had to do. We had met, and then I hadn't heard from you for like a year. And then suddenly you just like, this is it. What was that launching point for you?
So I think for me, because I work in the public health field, I see a lot of things. And it's an interesting experience as a Black woman sitting in some of these spaces that I'm in, and trying to absorb this information that kind of comes in, information overload. And so what had happened was I was in a meeting, a race equity training, and they had put this slide up that said something that really struck me in a different way. I had seen this information before. It wasn't new, but it hit me differently. And I was like, you know what? It's time to write this book. The slide said something like, Blacks fare worse in every single system in society. It was like employment, housing. We're overrepresented in criminal justice. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I know this, but it hit me differently because they were talking about people that look like me. They were talking about me. They're talking about my family. And so I said, this interesting duality that I sit in, this benefit of understanding things from this sort of bird's eye academic level, but then also, being a member of the community that we're talking about. It's a weird line to walk. And I was like, I got to get this out because I don't think I'm the only one. And that was really what prompted me to start to write and call you.
Yeah. And I remember that it was like you had done a Facebook post, or it wasn't even a post. It was a reply to someone. You're like, yeah, I'm going to be thinking about that book. And I was like, how about now? I was like, let's do it. And you were like, okay.
Okay, we can find some money.
And then you literally found some money, and we started working, which, that's just the way it is. It's just doing business as, right?
Exactly.
So Rachel, you have come out with your book, Facing Perfection, A Journey to Healing, Fitness, and Self-Love. And we have the longest history of this group with coaching. We met a couple years ago, and you started the book. And then your book is really vulnerable. You really expose a lot of parts of self with the body dysmorphia, and working, being a bodybuilder, and how all the self-worth issues tied together. You needed to put the book down for a little while and do some healing. Is that correct?
Yes. So it was a lot of the, while writing the book, a lot kind of started to come about that I didn't realize was still there, because I thought I was already at that point of my journey where I was ready. And as I was writing the book, like just working with you each week, I was just sharing this with a friend earlier today, is like sitting down to write chapter 1. It was just the hardest thing to do. And as you start doing the chapters per week, you progressively get better at it. But it's like the words come through you, and there's so much shedding and healing. And it was such a cathartic process that actually just, it sealed my whole like transformation. Like I finally came and I was like, I got it. And I really sat with it for some time, because after the book was written, so much truth came out that I didn't realize was there. And that was where I sat with it for about a year. And I was kind of in that limbo, like, do I really want to do this? This is like burying my soul. So it's that kind of heavy on there. And of course, you know, we played around with the title. So as you can see, there was a little bit of perfection still in there. So I kind of got hung up. So it wasn't so much always dragging my feet, but there was some of that. You know, I had to be ready for it to be released. And I feel now more than ever to release it, because of what our world is going through right now. We need so much of that inner work and that inner healing. And I am a firm believer that love starts within. And if we, you know, for us to heal our world, we have to heal ourselves, and we have to have that love as a foundation.
And you launched a podcast.
Yes, last year.
Yeah. So it's almost like you found your voice with the book, and then you really had a lot more to say that was even beyond the book. And that's often what will happen is, right, it's never just the book. It's, you know, a series of speaking gigs, it's podcasting, it's you know, starting a new community, you know, or organization, or, you know, it's a whole ton of ancillary joys and perks that come with writing the book. And so I'm really happy for you. And Allen just hit Barnes and Noble bookstore last night. We're really excited.
Congratulations.
And Amazon as well.
Yep, and Amazon. And Nicole, by the way, 2 weeks ago, Amazon bestseller. She's got that big old gold ribbon on her book. Not doctor on her book, but, you know, I'm just going to put doctor on anyway. And Allen, I'm going to be hearing about that. Allen has published a book called The System is Unforgiving, Play by the Rules and Win, and talk about a timely book. Wow. And I mean, these 15 rules that he's come up with, from the streets of Philly to, you know, being in Guantanamo Bay in the Philippines and being on a USS destroyer. And it's just amazing. To the man he sits there as today, you know, Allen, you literally showed up every single week. I think you're my fastest client. We've been from beginning to end, and now looking at trying to get, you know, some top 10 lists in 8 months.
That's how we roll.
What was that like for you on a weekly basis? Because you had never written anything before, right? But this was a dream.
This was more another phase in life, more so than a dream. It's because all the events in my life, and every time I talk to someone and tell them just pieces of my story, they would say, "Man, you need to talk about this. You need to write about this." Mm-hmm. And so it was, okay, that sounds great. And I had a friend that wrote a book, but I tried to use the person that he had, and it didn't click. And I talked to other people, and it didn't click. I'm a horrible writer, and I thought that I could never do this. And so I thought maybe I'll have someone ghostwrite it, and that didn't work. And just by meeting David and introducing me to you, it just clicked, and it just the home run hit. And, you know, you are a taskmaster. I am a military guy. I follow orders to the T. And so once we started, we wrote the first chapter, then it really started getting exciting, because it's one thing to tell someone about your life. It's another thing to see it in print. Mm-hmm. And then it started coming to life, and then it just became exciting. And I just can't tell you, even sitting here now, I'm still in disbelief that I've actually written a book, that I've actually have a really, really cool story to tell. And I believe truly in my heart that in life, there are a series of different systems and processes. And in order to be successful, you know, you have to be willing to explore and walk down those roads. And I mean, again, my beginning had all the makings of ending up in jail or ending up in a bad place and just not doing well. So it's coming out of Philly and you're thinking, okay, I made it out of that. But then I go into the rural South in Georgia where it was a lot of racism and things of that nature. So it was trading one bad situation for another, again, compounding the ideal of not ever being successful. So the military was an escape for me. And that's when I was blessed to have people enter into my life to kind of keep me between the lines. And having gone through some challenges, again, Kim, as we spoke about some near-death experiences and some really traumatic things in my life and some challenges, really makes you sit back and reflect on just life in general. And you look back and say, how did I get through that? What did it take to get through that? And so if I can do it, I'm nobody special. I think anybody can do it. And I think when you understand your surroundings and have some situational awareness about your environment and understand how you want to navigate to the end point, you'll be amazed at when someone sees you going down the right course, you'll get the right course correction from the right people at the right time. And so for me, that's been an exciting journey. And the journey today is it's at a whole different level, but I'm still on that quest. And I'm sure there'll be another book about, from the top to the next top. I don't know. I'll
That's
think
right. There's more books, and I have to say, everybody on this call is a high achieving person. I would say slightly type A. Like to have many different things going on at once. One thing is just not enough. And I think when you're writing a book and you are a high achiever, you just know that you're going to be adding another big element to the equation, but it can be exciting. I always say that books need to inspire and educate and entertain. And Nicole, what parts of your book did you have the most fun writing? What really got you the most excited to write about?
I just really had a good time writing the entire thing. But I will say, when I wrote about my time, the years as a child, and thinking back to the days of going to my great-grandparents and my grandparents' home, looking through their old ebony magazines. And I think you and I were talking about a memory I had about the World Book Encyclopedia and that very specific part of that book with the costumes of all the ancient civilizations, and actually Googling that, trying to see if I could actually find that page in that book and finding it and actually like being emotional, like this is my childhood. I really enjoyed that because there were a lot of things I think that I had forgotten. I'm old, I'm 41. So some of that stuff I don't remember in great detail. And you were asking for that detail. And I'm like, I don't remember. But being able to go back and actually see, someone had taken the time maybe to to scan or make copies of that so I could actually see it on the internet was really, really cool and really exciting.
Yeah, because we've been in our lives, right? So we don't think they're naturally that interesting, right? But then we start telling them to another person, and I'm usually the first witness of that. And so I'm always the first person that's like, whoa, can you tell me more about that? That sounds super interesting. I want to know more. And luckily, I was born with a quality of a very high level of curiosity. So I think, many things are interesting. It's rare that I find something I'm like, it's occasional. I'm like, yeah, not that interesting. I think I probably said that to all of you at some point. I've gone, I just don't think that's that interesting. But you can do what you want, but I don't think it's that interesting. Rachel, what did you enjoy writing?
I feel like it was kind of in the middle of the book where there's like that stride. There was that momentum where it wasn't so much of working through some of that hard part, but while you're writing it, you start, like I said earlier, like the healing and the shedding. And so when you find that stride, because you kind of get past that like hard heaviness, and it was just the fun part of it then, because at the time I was still kind of fresh off of a competition, and I had one on I was about to compete within, I think, a few months from that point. And so getting back into that whole mindset was just a lot of fun, recapping that journey, and then sharing and telling and just educating the women in the book about like what I was going through. I thought that was a lot of fun. Just seeing where I came from to where I'm at now was a transformation. It's like you find your groove, and it felt really good.
Yeah, and now more than ever, I think with everybody thinking they're suddenly like physical, their workout mavens during the COVID. I pulled an IT ban working out too hard. Week 2. And I couldn't work out at all. So that was a great move on my part. So your book is actually perfect for right now, because everybody's either like, I'm really fat, or I'm really thin, or I'm going to overdo it like you did. To be like a bikini bodybuilder, talk about an obsession with what you look like. And you have an opportunity to come out and say, it doesn't have to really be like that. That's not really what a healthy body is. So I think you're well timed with that. Really well timed. Allen, what did you love writing about? What was your favorite part?
So it's interesting because it was, again, like throughout the book, but for me, it was the discovery of processes. And so I think when I was in Georgia as a young kid and looking around me and seeing that things weren't what they really appeared to be. And then when I went into the military, I tried it out to see if it worked. And then I proved it. And then once I proved it, it was cool to write about how what's around you. It's sometimes not what you see is real, but you have to, enjoy, and you have to understand what it is and navigate through it. And then the challenges that I went through, again, a collision at sea and watching someone get killed and your best friends getting sucked out into the straits. And you're saying, wow, I was a part of that. Or just understanding that the awareness, and as I wrote in each chapter or each event, it was just exciting to just be thankful to have that level of awareness. And then the other piece, more importantly, was as I started rising up the economic ladder, seeing a different mindset of, looking back. After it's written, you look back and go, oh my goodness, when I was at this level, I thought a certain way, but then I get to another level and I realized that my thinking at the lower level was very limited and or challenged. So again, to see it in print and to see the results of the different aspects of testing the system really made the book come alive in my mind and as I was reading it. So that made it very exciting throughout the whole book.
Well, I asked that question because a lot of times as a coach, I don't see that much joy. I see a lot of like, okay, I delivered the chapter, now we're going to talk about it. We're gonna be excited about what got done. But a lot of it's like, okay, well, are we happy with what was delivered? Are we happy with what's coming next? Do we feel like we're complete? It's very like, it can be a very serious process. But I do think that if you are able as a writer to tap into the fact that I'm doing a book, like just that alone is such a huge accomplishment. And then to be coached and know you're doing a book that's really good, right? Because you have support. I think we all use support in different ways in all parts of our businesses or our personal lives to be better. We all want to just sort of, be better. So here's my last question. What were some of the side benefits that came from, and this might be part of the joy question from writing the book, Rachel, I mentioned the podcast. Was there anything else that you feel kind of came from the benefits of writing the book? Was there a kind of resolution with your family or a change you saw in how you wanted to do business? Rachel, did you hear me ask that?
Yes. So for me, I think a lot came from that. Like you said with the podcast, I fell in love with writing. Like when I first started the whole writing process, I had that, chatter in my mind that just told me I was not a writer. And, this has been like over 2 years and I absolutely love writing. Whatever it is, it's a way for me to express from where I wasn't able to before. And now I have words for the emotions that I feel, but I'm also able to write them down and make like complete sentences, and people read it and they feel it. And it's like, that's my gift, that I can share this and people are receiving it. So I think that's a big quality of like joy for me, as well as having that platform for a podcast. Because I remember a conversation you and I had way back when I first started, and you said, when you become a better writer, you become a better speaker. And as I opened up and started sharing more of my story, it became easier to speak and easier to spot in other women. And I felt more of that compassion and empathy, which also opened door and a platform for my podcast to help other women, build a community around it, have speaking engagements, and now opening the doors for like coaching and helping other women. So there's a lot of joy in it because it gave me that freedom that I sought within.
It's amazing to see you blossom over the years since I've known you, and you were quieter when I met you. I have so much to say. Nicole, you had mentioned to me that you applied for a position, and you said writing the letter, you realized that you actually brought emotion and story into this letter. So, like, do you feel like that's one of the benefits? You're a better writer?
Absolutely. And it's funny because that specific letter that I was talking to you about, it was for a board of directors. I was wanting to be on this particular organization's board of directors. And I was getting ready to write the typical, hi, I'm Nicole, blah, blah, blah. This is what I do. And da, 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 da. And I was like, no, let me scratch that. And so the first line is, I fell in love with public health 20 years ago.
Oh.
Da, 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 da. And when the director called me to interview me, he was like, your letter. I was like, yes, I'm so glad I changed it. So that is definitely something that has happened. I think the other benefit is I think I'm definitely more solid and committed to my cause for social justice and public health. I think the other thing that has happened for me is I realized I didn't realize, I'll say, how impactful my words could be. I've been hearing feedback. People are like, I'm in tears reading this. And I'm like, you're in tears reading this? Or, wow, this is a cultural TED Talk without the microphone in the audience. And I'm like, what? Who, are you reading whose book is this that you're reading? What? So I think that's been the surprise for me. Like, dang, my words are resonating with other people. So that has definitely been a nice surprise.
Absolutely. I'm serious when I say to you guys, that's good. You guys go, wow. I mean, yeah, it's true. And it's true. You won't know till you publish, and then you start to get strangers, right? Strangers saying, I really loved this, or, this really struck a chord for me. How about you, Allen? What has been some of I know it's really, new, but what are some of the, benefits you've seen so far?
So the benefits are, it's interesting because this past year, I've been asked to do a lot of public speaking and represent because of who I become, being a CEO of a multi-million-dollar corporation. Now people want to hear what I have to say. And it's interesting. I'm the same guy that was, back there on welfare, so, well, I don't know about welfare, but I did have government cheese in my early years. But it's interesting that it started unfolding. And I think for me, the real impactful point, Kim, this is going to surprise you, is when we had that 17-year-old beta reader read my book and come back with her comments, that really just floored me. And that just made me realize that I do have something to say, and there is important, and it will inspire people, and it will give people hope, and it will give people not only just hope, but the mechanics to make change. And so now that's kind of my journey. So I mentor a lot of people now. I just got asked last Friday to mentor kids in the Sylvan Learning Center. I'm mentoring a young lady right now who part of one of the nonprofits that I'm a part of. She has she draws on sneakers, and I'm taking her through the whole entrepreneurial process. So, again, it's like I could really help someone make a difference. And to me, that's been very impactful.
Very impactful. Wonderful. Well, I'm in awe of all three of you. I think you're amazing, and I'm so grateful to know you. And this is just a big and exciting month of publishing and celebrating and educating and feeling good about what you took time out of your life to bring your story forward, because somebody's going to be touched and healed. And while you do have benefits from it, yes, as you should, I don't hear from any of you that that's necessarily the top of mind. when I ask you these questions, you'll maybe say something about yourselves. You go right into who you're serving. You go right into who you're helping. You go right into who you're addressing. And that, I can't tell you how much that touches me. So thank you for being part of this Story Aside tribe. And everybody go out and buy their books. If you want to say your book one more time, show your book if you have it. Exhibit A, Nicole. There you go. Pushing through. It's available on Amazon. Where's the one with the ribbon?
This is the original proof. So this is this is pre-ribbon.
But it's on Amazon, correct? And
yes, it is.
Rachel, when do we get to access your book in a week? Where is it going to be at?
It's on Amazon. So this is my proof. There's proof across it. So yes, it'll obviously not have this big gray line on it. So it'll be available next week on Amazon. Right now we have the pre-order available for Kindle, as well as we're doing some the autographed copies, the hard and the paperback, which will be shipped out after release date. So we'll have that publication as well.
That's
so paperback and everything will be available on Amazon after the launch date of 6/23.
That's so cool. I'm just seeing if I have Allen's book. We just actually asked for one to come in the mail because we did everything online and then it went straight to Barnes & Noble. But let me see if I can. Oops. Hopefully I won't screen share something like super personal. Let me see. Did it screen share?
Yeah, we can see.
Yeah, it did.
What are you seeing? Are you seeing his book though? No.
No, it's all the way there. It is.
There it is.
Oh, awesome. The cover is so cool.
There's his book.
Yeah.
The best part, it's on my publishing label.
Yeah.
Oh.
Wow.
Yeah.
More to come there. So thank you so much for your time. We did it in 30 minutes. I appreciate you guys so much. Always on time, always with a lot to say, and have a wonderful rest of the day. And everybody buy their books, support authors.
Thank you, Kim. You're the best.
Bye.
Everybody hire Kim as a book coach, but she'll get you through to the end for sure.
We got the plug in. Okay. Bye.
All right. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.